Week number 10 is underway, and today we are tackling all of the biggest waiver wire additions, the must-adds for Week 10. I will admit, it's not a great waiver week overall. In totality, there's not like one elite, absolute must-have this week, but I do think there's some value to be had because everyone is kind of on the same page that it's not a very good waiver week. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start with the guys who are available in shallow leagues, double check to make sure they're not on your waiver wire. Then we'll go through my top 10 adds for common 12-man formats, most of you playing in leagues like that out there, and then we'll go over some deeper league stashes at the end. So let's start with the guys that you need to double check your waiver wire for. Now, a lot of these guys in regular leagues are widely rostered, but Cedric Tillman, wide receiver of the Cleveland Browns, 3 straight games where he's been a top 24 wide receiver. He is 69% rostered right now, so even in 8 and 10-man leagues, he should definitely be added. I would be willing to spend, upwards of 40, 50, 60% of my fab if you were in need of wide receiver help, which a lot of people seem to be because of all the wide receiver injuries. Xavier Legette, 49% rostered right now. Jonathan Mingo just traded. Xavier Legette led the team in targets this past week. Definitely a good add. Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver of the 49ers. Of course, we know Brandon Ayuk is out for the season. Jawan Jennings is coming back from an injury. Deebo Samuel still dealing with pneumonia. I'm sure those guys will probably be back on the field, but Pearsall was a first-round pick and has a lot of upside to command some targets, so make sure he is rostered as well. So those are the kind of double check if they're rostered type of guys. Let's get into my top 10 waiver ads. And spoiler alert, the flex positions, wide receiver and running back, are not, plentiful with great options this week. This is more of a meat and potatoes kind of quarterbacks and tight ends and, some stashes and upside swings and things like that this week. Let's start with an honorable mention. Taysom Hill didn't quite make this list, but he was a top 5 tight end in week number 9. Olave may be out going forward with the concussion, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Taysom Hill, if you need a tight end this week, Bowers, Njoku, and Tucker Kraft all on bye. I think a lot of people out there could use a streaming tight end, and Taysom Hill could be a good option. My ad number 10, though, is also another tight end. I have Mike Gesicki, tight end of the Cincinnati Bengals, just had the number 1 tight end performance of any fantasy tight end in the league last week. T. Higgins not practicing as of Monday. The Bengals play on Thursday Night Football versus the Baltimore Ravens. So today's practice is going to be the crucial one. If T. Higgins is not practicing yet again today, I would say it's probably safe to assume he will be out Thursday night. Gesicki is a great tight end fill-in for those of you guys that do have a number of tight ends on bye. Like I said, Brock Bowers, Tucker Kraft, and David Njoku all out with the bye week this week. And to boost Mike Gesicki's performance even from a week ago, Eric All tore his ACL. He actually came into the season coming off of a torn ACL. The rookie tight end was actually starting to play more snaps. So probably an increase in snaps in order for Mike Gesicki going forward. Definitely a decent add if you need a tight end. My ad number 9 is Ray McLoud, wide receiver of the Atlanta Falcons. Drake London suffered a hip pointer injury. The moribund New Orleans Saints defense is what the Falcons are dealing with this week in fantasy, and they're missing a lot of starting cornerbacks. Plus, today is the trade deadline. They may actually end up selling Marshawn Lattimore, who is their best corner. In either case, Drake London may miss a game, may not miss a game. It's not an overly severe injury. All that to say, Ray McLeod, if Drake London is out, could be a very decent flex option against the New Orleans Saints. So if you're looking for a wide receiver to throw right into your flex off of the waiver wire, I think you could do worse than Ray McLeod. He's getting all the routes, had 11.5 PPR points this past week, and if London is out, that would boost his bottom line. So my number 8 ad on the week is another tight end. The best tight end on the week here is Jonnu Smith, tight end of the Miami Dolphins. Quietly has really great usage the last 4 games. He's getting targets. The Dolphins are a functional offensive unit. If you have Kraft, Bowers, or Njoku, you're looking for tight ends, and this is the premier fill-in my opinion. You can see the last 4 games, 37% targets per route run, 28%, 21%, and 24%. Jonnu Smith is on the field getting targets. He's finished as a top 15 tight end in 3 of the last 4 games. And the Dolphins this week against the Los Angeles Rams could be in store for a high-scoring game environment. So if you need a tight end fill-in this week, Jonnu Smith is your guy. My number 7 waiver addition on the slate here is Trey Benson, running back of the Arizona Cardinals. James Conner left briefly to be evaluated for a concussion. I'm sure he'll be fine, but he is a 29-year-old running back who's never finished a full season. And more importantly, I think this is the important part of why I'm adding Trey Benson. Trey Benson has looked better and better each and every week. He just had his best game as a professional, finishing as a top 24 running back for the first time all season. His last 5 games, he's averaged 5.35 yards per carry, and in my opinion, is one of the biggest league winners widely available, because if Connor were to go down, Trey Benson is the type of guy that everybody would blow every dime of fab to get if he was available in your league. So why not get ahead of that? Because James Conner, given his age, given his injury history, given the amount of touches he has under his belt, it's possible he's going to miss some games down the stretch here. And why not get ahead of it with Trey Benson? I'm sure if Connor ever went down, Amari DiMercato would take away third downs, but I would imagine Trey Benson would be in line for 15 to 20 carries per game. So definitely go out and add him. Not a good running back week. As we know, it hasn't been good running back sledding for the last couple of weeks, but Trey Benson is a very good stash. Ray Davis is my number 6 running back, also a very good stash. Right now, the best running back ads are handcuffs. The reality of the NFL at its current state right now is that it's the wide receivers that are getting injured, not the running backs, which is really odd because it's usually flipped and inverted. Ray Davis has been a top 20 running back in 3 of his last 4 games, despite only one of those games having James Cook out for. So it really goes to show you that Ray Davis is just a good player. He plays for a great offense with a great quarterback. If James Cook were to miss any significant time, Ray Davis, like Trey Benson, could be a very good league winner, and he also has like a minor standalone role to begin with. He's good. That's it. It really all comes down to that. If James Cook misses any time, he could be a potential league winner on an elite NFL offense. So Ray Davis, definitely a great stash for those of you guys, especially who are in a winning position. My number 5 waiver addition on the week is Demarcus Robinson, wide receiver of the Los Angeles Rams, a back-to-back top 18 wide receiver in back-to-back weeks here. Miami Dolphins on the docket for this week. It will be a tough matchup for the wide receiver position, but it should be a high over-under game environment. 4 teams are on bye in week 10, so I'd imagine a lot of you guys are scavenging for wide receivers to be able to start. I think he's a premier option if you just need a guy to throw into your lineup right off of the waiver wire. Because like I said, he's getting the routes, he's getting some targets, he's making big plays. Puka Nacua is dealing still with the injury. He also got ejected. I don't think he'll get suspended or anything like that. But Demarcus Robinson, when Nacua and Cooper Kupp on the field, gets no attention from defenses, and he's been able to break some big plays as a result of that. So definitely keep an eye on Demarcus Robinson. Number 4 ad on the week for me is the only quarterback on this list. That is Drake Maye, quarterback of the New England Patriots. He has been great for fantasy, and this also marks the first player on this list that I would actually be willing to spend really any fab on, because as I mentioned at the top, this is not a great waiver week. But Drake Maye, if you need a quarterback right now, you lost Dak Prescott, whatever, rushing the football, dropping back to pass, he is creating big plays regardless of how you look at it. He is number 9 in the NFL in fantasy points per drop back at the quarterback position. He's ahead of Joe Burrow. He's ahead of Jordan Love. He's ahead of Patrick Mahomes. He's ahead of CJ Stroud. His schedule has not been easy, too. That's the impressive part about a rookie quarterback performing at this level. Other than the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was also in London, which is a challenging place to play, Houston, he played against in his first NFL start. He had 22.5 points in that game, which is extremely impressive against a good defense. Last week, in one quarter, he had 11.5 fantasy points against the Jets. And then this week against the Titans, who are one of the lowest yards allowed, EPA allowed type of defenses that you can go up against, he had 17.8 points on the back of 90-plus rushing yards. The Bears' defense this week is going to be tough for him. Dolphins, 2 weeks from now, also going to be tough for him, but he does have one easy matchup in Week 11. Still has his bye week, but the rushing floor makes him a viable quarterback streamer this week and going forward. We got Jordan Love on bye, Jonnu Smith on bye, a bunch of guys, Dak Prescott injured, that people might be looking for quarterbacks, so that is why I put Drake Maye onto this list. Also, I just think he could be a rest of season option for a lot of people. So, number 3, must-add player on the waiver wire for me this week is Khalil Herbert, officially traded to the Cincinnati Bengals this morning. It was just a 7th rounder, so it's not really a whole lot of team investment, and I wouldn't hammer the panic button on Chase Brown by any means, but it is exceedingly interesting because there is no good running back waiver additions. There are no guys that you can throw in onto your, starting lineup right off of the waiver wire. And I don't think that's necessarily true for Khalil Herbert either. After a week or two, once he's able to learn the playbook, he might become a factor in this backfield to the tune of what Zach Moss was doing. So Khalil Herbert, who's widely available, is the type of guy that a lot of people in deeper 12-man leagues will be after on the waiver wire. I wouldn't go crazy with this, 5 to 15% of your fab budget at absolute most, but if you are totally desperate for running back help, like I am, for example, in the Flock League, this is the type of addition that could yield something a few weeks down the line, because Khalil Herbert last year was actually very productive. You can see there, 611 rushing yards, 4.6 yards per attempt, had a 79.4 PFF rushing grade. Over his career, he's a 4.8 yards per carry guy, so he's the type type of dude that is an explosive back who could work into this backfield, and him and Chase Brown are actually quite similar, so maybe they like that element of what Khalil Herbert brings to the table. Going on to my number 2 waiver addition, these top 2 guys are definitely the best 2 additions in my opinion. Adonai Mitchell, not playable right now, but he is the premier stash in fantasy football because he is the 4th wide receiver on his depth chart. Not great, right? However, this team, should Adonai Mitchell get into the starting rotation between Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, if any of those guys went down, if any of them got injured, or if Adonai Mitchell just starts to get more playing time over Pierce or Pittman as the season goes along, this offense is up-tempo. It's pass-heavy with Joe Flacco, who apparently is going to start the whole year, according to Shane Steichen. Michael Pittman is completely hurt right now. It would not take much for him to re-aggravate the back injury that he's dealing with. They talked about him going on IR, and he actually didn't end up missing a single game. So for me, I look at Pittman. He's got 2 catches for 30 yards in his last 2 games with 10 targets, only catching 2 of them, and a 53 PFF grade over the last 2 weeks. So he is not playing well. He's clearly banged up, clearly injured. I don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to put AD Mitchell on Pittman's role and shut him down, put him on IR or something like that? Will Pittman re-aggravate the injury? Will Alec Pierce suddenly fade into the background in favor for Mitchell? I don't know what's going to happen, but Mitchell is making plays anytime he gets opportunities. All I know for sure is that if he were to start for this team, he would be a blow-your-fab budget type of waiver addition, like I said, for Trey Benson. So get ahead of that. Should he become the starter for this team, and he's a rookie wide receiver, it could happen down the stretch, I know that he has been elite on a per-route basis. He is 5th in ESPN open score. He is right up there with separation marks, and he's averaging 32% targets per route run. If he gets on the field in a full-time role, he could end up making magic happen for this Colts offense. So definitely make sure he is rostered and he is stashed for those of you guys looking for upside on your bench. My number 1 waiver addition on the week is Quentin Johnston, wide receiver of the Los Angeles Chargers, the premier spot starter if you have bye weeks that you're dealing with. In week 10, it's not a great matchup, but he does have 3 favorable ones after that, with the Bengals, with the Ravens, and with the Atlanta Falcons from weeks 11 to 13. So if you lost a player for a couple of weeks due to injury, or if you're just looking for wide receiver depth in general, Quentin Johnston is definitely the premier guy to go after. He has been good in 3 of his 5 healthy games this season. His breakout season was kind of derailed a little bit back in week 6 when he suffered that injury, but the explosive plays are there. There is bread and butter right now, and the Chargers have actually been quietly a lot more pass heavy in the last 4 games. Justin Herbert is playing at a very, very high level. He's thrown for over 235 yards in 4 straight games. So if you're looking for a wide receiver that you could throw into your flex week over week, especially, like I said, 3 of his next 4 matchups are really good. Not necessarily this week, but weeks 11 to 13. I believe Quentin Johnston is the best available waiver addition that is under 40% rostered. And I will talk about some deep league stashes as well for those of you guys that play in 14-man leagues or hyper competitive leagues, or you just have really deep benches. There's a lot of the guys that I talked about probably aren't available, but if you are looking for some stashes, these guys are all sub 10% rostered on Sleeper. Audric Estime, more touches coming according to the coaching staff. We'll see how that plays out. I don't necessarily think he can supplant Javonte Williams, but it is encouraging knowing that he's going to get more touches. So definitely make sure that you're stashing him. Noah Brown led the Commanders in targets this past week. Definitely an interesting guy. Nick Westbrook-Akine, 4+ targets in 3 straight games. 6 targets this past week. Again, these guys are very low-end pickups. This would only be for deeper leagues that I would stash them. Cam Akers, new handcuff to Vikings running back Aaron Jones, who, of course, has been often injured, and Cam Akers has looked pretty good when gotten opportunities. And then any handcuffs in general make for good deep league stashes. Kamani Vidal, Sean Tucker, Antonio Gibson, whatever handcuff running back is available on your waiver wire. If you're holding some backup nobody, wide receiver 7 or something that you're never going to use, you might as well stash Kamani Vidal instead. You might as well stash Sean Tucker instead, because they could turn into something as opposed to those other things. They're probably just not going to be very valuable. So that is the end of this video. If you guys got some value from it, if you enjoyed, leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Check out our TikTok as well. I put out constant content over there. That is linked down below in the description. Check out our Flock League. Our vlog is coming out today for the Tuesday recap. We also have tons of stuff going on over on flockfantasy.com. Me and Danny are going to record a no notes evaluation of the 2025 class, kind of just going through and doing the research on the class. We're just going to turn the record button on and see what happens. That will be live on the site probably Wednesday or Thursday. So if you're interested in bonus video content, bonus articles, of course, our trade value charts, we also have our weekly rankings available on there, our rest of season rankings available on there, trade calculators, all that kind of stuff is available on flockfantasy.com. Right now, if you sign up using the promo code FSE, get a 7-day free trial when you use that promo code. You get a 30% off voucher when you use that promo code. You get 6 months for free if you sign up annually. That will cover you from now until the end of the season in into next season and through the Dynasty season, and you will also get a free voucher for a team review from us. We can break down your fantasy roster, tell you what's going on, tell you how we would, approach your team, how we would make new moves, how we would, go about fixing your roster if you're in a bad spot. Definitely check that out if you're interested. That's linked down below in the pinned comment. And also check out our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, promo code FSE when you sign up for up to $1,000 in bonus cash, plus a special pick'em. A great game coming up on Thursday night. Very excited for Bengals and Ravens. So with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.